Hey there! Welcome to another Speedpaint journal by S.H.I.E.L.D. Welcome to my mind. Alright, so this will be my first fan rant journal. These will basically be centered around theories I'm dying to share or topics I want to rant about regarding the different series and movies that I love. I actually wanted to release this one way sooner. I finished Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5 back in October, I think, and started my original fan art piece then. But I was having trouble with the gravitonium for literal months, and then I lost all the captures, so that sucked. But we're here now, so let's get into it. So first off, I love how they handled things pre-Infinity War. The reason why I put off watching this season for so long was because I, being the nerd I am, realized that Infinity War's timeline would land directly in the middle of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season, or not even like slightly in the middle, like basically towards the beginning of the middle of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season, you know? And normally the show's timeline is basically congruent with the viewers for the MCU. So for example, the fall of S.H.I.E.L.D. happened in May of 2014 on the MCU timeline. And that was when they released the episodes regarding it, even though Winter Soldier came out a month prior. The Marvel movies that were released in 2017 and 2018, though, had major timeline shifts compared to what fans were used to. So, like, that was when they first started to release them in a way where the events were taking place before the actual release dates, instead of right around, or like as in years before the actual release dates, instead of like just right around the time roughly of the release date. So while Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. continued their storyline and everything, and we saw the growth in the MCU regarding the Accords, for instance, and things like that, we don't really see any of that in the movies, because all of the movies released after Civil War were actually, the events were actually set before it, or just after it, not very far after it. Like, the most that we see in the universe post Accords is Spider-Man Homecoming, right? Which goes up to about 6 months or so, roughly, after the Accords happened, like going up into, if their homecoming is like how my homecoming is usually, it would basically be around the time frame of about September, October-ish, yeah, would be my guess. So at this point I feel like I have to like draw up a mind map for this portion of the video, basically showing like how my mental time frame seems to be matching up with the MCU time frame based off of all these little hints and things like that, because that's the way mine works. But yeah, so what this all means is that the framework part of season 4 all happens toward the end of 2016 based off of context clues and things like that. So probably about like October, November-ish of 2016, which normally not a big deal, not too far off from when the episode release dates are a few months behind, but that's normal for the show, because normally in the next season they will do a time skip showing how the team's life has changed from what happened on the season finale, and if there happen to be movies released between when the next season comes out and things like that, the effects of that movie is included. Like in the case of Captain America's Civil War, they actually were off season when that movie was released. So we didn't really see the effects until the start of the next season. See what I'm saying? But here's the thing. Season 5 aired December of 2017. Infinity War takes place around the new year of 2017, but was not set to be released until mid-2018. So that right there, that is why I held off watching this show for so long. Like, I mean, it's more convenient to binge watch too, but that was the main reason. Because I assumed this meant that the show would have inevitable spoilers because of the timeline. But nope, they realized this too, and to get around it, they had an ingenious idea to send the team into the future for the entire first half of the season, basically placing them in a doomed timeline where Earth was blown up, I assume either just before or right after Thanos showed up. I'm gonna go with right after because they don't seem to, like, no one in the season mentions the snap. So, assuming that they're in the same timeline, they may not have realized that they were missing half the population because the world fucking blew up. So, like, you know, they just so happened to be they just so happened to be the lucky half that didn't get snapped and didn't realize that's entirely possible, you know? But it was friggin' brilliant, honestly. It was brilliant. And it's brilliant for two reasons. They were able to time it in a way where the show is now back on the same timeline as the movies, essentially, instead of ahead of them. And they were now set up so that their next season could theoretically focus on the after effects of the snap, or show the fixed timeline from the next movie. The fact that they have the next season scheduled to release later than usual, after Endgame's release, based on what they've released about Endgame's timeline. It's much more likely, based on that Endgame and Season 5 are two separate failed timelines. Which, how, I can theorize out the wazoo on how on earth they ended up being in the same timeline despite becoming from different failed timelines. And yeah, I'm absolutely holding out hope that Endgame will have a time travel fix because Loki and Peter can't die, damn it. That is illegal, and how dare you take away Vision, who, I'm sorry, I still see as Jarvis 2.0 because I friggin' loved Jarvis, and it breaks my heart that they took him away from us too soon. Too friggin' soon. Like, why? And also, I just love Loki in general. So, like, why? Why did you kill him off within 30 minutes? Why did you deprive me of seeing him interact with the Avengers and seeing how they would take his redemption? Why did you deprive me of that? So yeah, because I have a lot of feels regarding those two in particular, like, obviously Peter can't die because, like, Peter's Peter. Like, those ones, they can't die, so, like, you have to reverse it. You just have to. It is legally required for you to reverse it, just saying. So yeah. I also really enjoyed the Hale storyline of the second half of the season. I felt like it was an interesting look at how people born into cults and hate groups like Hydra, because make no mistake, they are absolutely a hate group, regardless of which chapter of Hydra it is. If you go the cult route, like, you know, with the Hive and whatnot, that's still a hate group. It's just the group they're hating is humans. Like, it's still a hate group, okay? It just is. How hate groups like Hydra and people who are born in them grow up thinking it's normal, and how their views are righteous, even when those same views affect them negatively or even put down who they are as a person. And, like, seeing Hydra Academy, it made me fangirl out a little, to be honest, because, like, I mean, like, those uniforms, yo, and in an underground school? Like, what? Like, I literally had to stop myself from actively going out and looking for fanfics with a similar premise but for S.H.I.E.L.D, a secret underground S.H.I.E.L.D academy, right, for teenagers. Because let's be honest, who hasn't already seen those? I mean, generally they're above ground and not as cool, but like, there's plenty of S.H.I.E.L.D High alternate universes. Although I would love to know what was on Sitwell's files for his high school transcripts. I know that's probably weird for me to focus on, but like, that's where my mind went. Like, General Hale makes sense because like she didn't really go into S.H.I.E.L.D, but like, what about all the agents that went directly into S.H.I.E.L.D after coming out of Hydra Academy? Like, obviously they on their transcripts it wouldn't say Hydra Academy, so what did they put on there, you know? Probably weird for me to think that and focus on that, but there you go. I also would have loved getting the Hales' redemption arc, like especially Ruby, because I was honestly devastated with how Ruby died. It hit me so hard because I've spent the last couple of years since my little sister was diagnosed with bipolar schizophrenia terrified that she would get into one of her manic states and see something that wasn't there and be dealt with by an officer. Because the reality is, that's what can happen to mentally ill Black people. Ruby was struggling not just to control her new power, but these new dangerous personalities and voices and the effects they had on her. The fact that they were trying to overcome her own psyche. And all that while dealing with the grief of killing someone she at least thought of as a friend by that point. And doing that by accident. I honestly think she would have had a chance at learning control if she had the time to get the help she needed. But Yo-Yo only saw threat and dealt with it. And again, that was devastating to me, and I couldn't help but think, what if that was Jazzy? I mean, obviously it's not the same, partially because, again, these people were part of a hate group. Can't stress that enough here. But I still couldn't help but draw parallels. So, all in all, I loved how they handled the first half of the season and the timeline issues of the season as a whole, and the look into how Hydra was set up in its heyday, and just how those people thought and went about their lives was pretty interesting. But honestly, that timeline thing trumps everything, as you can imagine, and it gets my nerdy juices going and makes me even more excited for the next season, honestly. Like, I can't wait for it, or for Endgame. Like, I'm just so excited. I can't wait. So, since 3 times is apparently a friggin' curse, my original fan art for this is lost. Because all the captures for it just didn't save at all. So, yeah, I'm still upset about that, because I'm so upset. But I am going to still go ahead and put a link for the original, which I've already posted on Instagram, which I now have. Yay. But otherwise, like, this one, because of the fact that, like, I spent literal months on the original fan art, when I realized I had absolutely nothing to show for it, I was just like, I'm not feeling like a super complicated, well thought out composition like the first time around. So this one is pretty simple. Just a headshot of General Hale, a Hale Senior, with like the American flag hydronized, basically. Because to me, she seemed like she was proud of her country, but at the same time, she was more proud of the country as Hydra wanted it to be, basically. So, yeah. I did enjoy it, though, because like it did give me a chance to kind of play around with how I wanted to work with skin tones in general and things like that. So, but yeah, it was a lot less complicated than the first go round. It was still fun though. It was still fun. You guys have an amazing day.